all can see where I am back at Van Winden's nursery in Napa, California, and I have a new victim today. This is David. David has been working at Van Winden's for what, almost 5 years
almost
now?
Almost 5 years.
And I guess we could call David a mushroom lover, right? What got you into mushrooms? First of all, I want to say I know nothing about mushrooms. So when I came here, I said to David, I don't even know what to ask.
There's so much.
It's so interesting, you know? So what got you into it?
Living in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, having friends that were going out foraging.
Okay.
Also having a parent that was very afraid of mushrooms. Kind of pushed me into that direction.
Yeah, was your parent like, no, don't touch that. No.
Don't touch mushrooms. Also, she never ate mushrooms.
Oh, so even that far. Oh, interesting. So basically what we're talking about mushrooms today, not only are we talking about mushrooms that you can find in your garden, which I have a picture of mushrooms I have in my garden.
Perfect.
I want to show you, but also growing mushrooms, right? Foraging for mushrooms.
Absolutely.
Right?
Understanding that mushrooms are both beneficial and a problem in the garden.
Okay, all right, well, good to know. Okay, I'm excited, let's get started. Talk about the very basic. What's the most basic question we should know about mushrooms?
The fact that mushrooms are not actually the whole organism of the fungi.
Okay.
Mushrooms are the fruiting body. So if you see a mushroom, the mycelium down below it is the actual organism. The comparison is like a apple tree compared to an apple. The mushroom is the apple, the mycelium is the apple tree.
Got it. Okay, so if you see a mushroom, that's only the part that you can see. There's much more going on underneath.
Absolutely.
The apple tree is underneath. Okay,
Yeah, so if you
interesting.
remove that mushroom, the tree's still there.
Oh no.
It's still going.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why they keep coming back in my garden.
And sometimes when you pick that mushroom, you're actively spreading spores around.
Oh, great. Okay. So let's get right into the big question that I have, that I've been anxiously waiting to ask you, is if you see a mushroom in your garden, like, how is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Should you leave it?
Depending on where it's growing. More than likely it's a good thing if you see it in the soil substrate. If you see it growing on your plant itself, then it's a problem. Mushrooms often grow as parasites on plant material. And then once they've killed the host plant, they then feed off the dead material.
Oh, okay. So say I see a mushroom on a plant. What should I do?
Remove it and then identify where it is, what kind of mushroom it is.
Okay.
Certain mushrooms are stronger than others. Plants have a really good way of compartmentalizing and dealing with that kind of damage.
Oh, okay.
So physically removing where you see that mushroom, looking at the inside of the plant and identifying if it's still growing in there.
Oh, okay.
Also, systemic fungicides are ways to treat them if you see it in there.
Okay.
But if it's an edible plant, tend to avoid systemic approaches.
Yeah, probably not smart. Okay, so this was interesting because David was telling me that powdery mildew is
It's a fungus.
a fungus, but it doesn't get the mushroom. Or does it get the mushroom?
It doesn't have what we recognize as mushrooms, but
Okay.
it has means of spreading spores, which
Okay.
is the fruiting body.
Okay.
They're just very, very small and don't have that classic mushroom look to them.
Right, and those blow in the wind, and that's how powdery mildew spreads. So if you're thinking about mushrooms, basically I'm going to say this in terms that my brain can can understand. Mushrooms are basically a fungus, right? And sometimes they can be really good, like as they're breaking down soil, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes they can be really bad, as in they're breaking down your plants, right? And so if you think of something like powdery mildew, we know we want that out of our garden. That's going to ruin our garden, and we would spray something.
Some kind of fungicide.
Okay.
I'm partial to the Monterey disease control.
Okay, yeah, Stam talked to us about that, how that was really good. All right, if powdery mildew is a fungus / mushroom, what other types, you know what I mean? Like, what should I be looking for?
You'll see things like turkey tails growing on hardwood trees. They're little kind of shelf-like funguses.
Oh, yeah.
That's a polypore with no like striped gills at the bottom.
Okay,
Very
and
common
then
one.
the classic button mushroom that we get at the grocery store, right?
Yeah, and from my understanding, those button mushrooms are all the same kind of mushroom, just in different stages of their growth.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Chanterelles are a really
Okay.
common one that have false gills.
Oyster mushrooms.
Oyster mushrooms are a great one. Those
Yeah.
are a parasitic saprophytic fungi that will grow on a plethora of substrates.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a very, very fun first choice for home growers for mushrooms.
Really? Okay, well, let's talk about that, because I know you were telling me about growing mushrooms at home, and I was like, what? So do you grow mushrooms at home? You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that. How do you do it?
So a lot of the ones that I grow, I started out with farm kits. So I go to places like North Spore, Far West Fungi,
Okay.
and they have these pre-packaged mycelium bricks
Yeah.
that you literally just slice an X in the bag, and then once it's exposed to oxygen, you keep it nice and moist,
Yeah.
and a mushroom will pop out.
You can eat that mushroom?
You can eat that mushroom.
Oh my
And
God.
when you buy from those kind of companies, you know exactly what kind of mushroom you're getting.
Yeah.
And if you buy things like lion's mane, oysters, you can then grow them and then know exactly what that mushroom looks like. So if you see it out in the wild,
then you're kind of training your brain or
Yeah.
training your eyes. Oh, interesting. So I always thought mushrooms grow in the dark, and like you have to keep it in a basement or something.
So they don't require light to grow. They don't get any benefit from that, or at least most of them do not.
Okay, but it's not going to hurt them if you grow
Not gonna
it like
hurt
on your
them.
kitchen counter or
Nope.
something like
They
that.
might dry out faster, so
Oh, okay.
misting it is more important.
Okay, interesting. So what are you growing, or are you growing anything right now?
I just moved, so I'm growing significantly less, but lion's mane, oysters, shiitake.
How neat.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. And what do you, like do you make stir fry or something?
Stir fry, mushroom pies, any kind of application that you put mushrooms in. Even it's an excellent meat substitute.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you can grow mushrooms, but then I've also heard about people, I see it on Instagram all the time, people foraging their own mushrooms, which means going out into the wilderness and
Being
looking
a little bit bold about it.
Do you do that?
I do.
Of course you do. So tell us about foraging mushrooms. For me, that seems kind of scary, right?
Absolutely, and it can be.
Because you wouldn't know if it's poisonous or something like that. So how did you get into foraging?
Having friends that are foragers.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a really, really, really important thing to have. Even if you're 99% confident you know what this mushroom is and you're going to consume it, still have somebody verify it for you. And if it's your first time, make sure somebody else knows what it is. Even things like lion's mane, where there's no poisonous lookalikes.
So tell us about that. The lion's mane, which, look, I'll put a picture on the screen. There's a lot of mushrooms out there that have other mushrooms that look very similar that are very poisonous, right? So you want to be careful. But lion's mane is special because no mushrooms look like a lion's mane.
And the ones that do look like lion's mane are just as edible, just not as tasty.
Got it. Okay, so no poisonous ones. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so having friends that are foragers, and then you're going out into like where, like a public park or something?
Public parks, anywhere that has nice quality soil, trees around, actively living things.
Okay.
There are also mushrooms that have mycorrhizal relationships. So they feed off of, they have a feed and exchange of sugars and nutrients with a tree to both their benefits.
Oh, interesting.
So like chanterelles, they will inoculate onto the roots of certain kind of hardwood trees.
Okay.
And then after a good amount of time, once they're nice and established, they'll put out fruiting bodies, which are the chanterelles.
So things you eat, yeah.
And so you go, and so if you're going out chanterelle hunting, you want to find the trees that they would grow on.
And so that's what you're looking for. You're not just going out into and just trying to look for a mushroom. You're going out looking for a specific tree. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, how neat.
And mushrooms like that, they will grow starting out underground.
Okay.
So I like to, we call them shrumps. Which are little bumps in the ground around these trees. And when you remove the dirt and the duff on top of them, then you'll find the mushroom. They won't just be popping up all the time out of the ground.
Wow. This is like a whole new world for me. I've seen people on Instagram do it, and I'm just like, what is happening there? But it's so interesting. That's so cool.
It really is. And there's a lot of fear around it, but it's,
yeah.
There's no mushroom in the United States that you can't handle with your hands.
Oh, okay.
They're totally safe to touch.
Okay.
A lot of mushrooms, they're even safe to put in your mouth and spit out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So where are the poisonous mushrooms?
They are everywhere as well.
Everywhere.
So you can go out mushroom hunting and find an edible choice mushroom and a deadly poisonous one growing right next to each other. So it's really important to know what you're working with.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are ways to be confident of what you've harvested.
Okay.
Like by getting a spore print.
Oh, what is that?
A spore print is a little thumbprint of the mushroom. So
okay.
Taking the cap, removing the stem,
putting
it on a piece of paper, whether it's black or white, letting it sit there for a few hours or a day, removing it, and it'll leave an imprint of the spores that are released.
What? What?
Yeah.
And then you can identify the mushroom
Yeah,
based on
or we
that?
get a lot closer to identifying it.
Oh my goodness,
So
this is
say
all...
you have a lookalike
Yeah.
that looks very similar.
Yeah.
Do a spore print of both of them. The spores could be dramatically different.
What? Oh my goodness, this is so interesting. This is like, oh my, it's like a handprint or a fingerprint for the mushrooms. Wow, okay. So when you go foraging, do you always do that, or is it only ones that you're kind of not confident
Kind
about?
of not confident. I started out always doing that.
Okay.
And it's always fun.
Yeah.
The patterns that they make are all unique. They're
Okay.
good for art pieces. You can make a beautiful painting
Wouldn't that be
with spore prints.
gorgeous? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yeah.
Have them all framed. Okay, now we're talking
Absolutely.
about design. Anyway, so how do you look up what a spore print is? Like,
So there are books like,
Okay.
my favorite field guide is All the Rain Promises and More, which I've loaned to a friend at the moment,
oh
so I don't have it with
okay,
me.
wait, say it again so I can put a picture up on the screen.
All the Rain Promises and More.
All the rain? Oh, interesting.
And it's written by David Aurora, who I believe is from Sebastopol.
No, that's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
from Santa Rosa. So.
Oh.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in Sebastopol.
I love it.
What is this one right here?
This is the Audubon Society's mushroom guide.
Oh, very nice.
So it has nice actual pictures.
Yes.
But then in the front, it has keys. So you can kind of start out loosely identifying the mushroom, and then
Okay.
it puts it all into categories for you. So then you
Got
can go
it.
from those categories to the actual mushrooms and then kind of make an educated guess from there.
So like this unidentified mushroom has a gill.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can kind of go from there.
Absolutely.
Does this have the spore prints in it?
It has not pictures of the spore prints, but it has
Descriptions?
descriptions of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is just crazy. This is, I'm like, when I say this is a whole new world for me, this is a whole new world for me. And it's kind of like a really detailed, like intricate world,
Absolutely.
right? What do you call a mushroom lover? Myophile.
Mycophile.
Mycophile, there you go. All mycophiles, you guys are like really into this, and it's really, really detail oriented and specific. So it's like once you start diving into this topic, you're gonna get lost, basically, which is kind
Absolutely.
of cool,
That's
right?
the fun of it.
Yeah, it's a really, really neat thing. Okay, so I will link this book in the description down below, as is the All the Rain Brings.
Promises and More.
All the Rain Promises and
And
More.
I can write it down for you.
Yeah, thank you. And then I see you have one more book, or
Yeah,
two
so
more books over there.
These are two books that we recently got to the nursery.
Okay.
This one I haven't looked through very much, but I've heard very good things.
Okay.
It's a field guide and a recipe book.
Oh, that's nice.
So for every mushroom that's in here, it has kind of descriptions and then ways to use them.
Nice. So tell us what this is called.
Fry, thrive, or die.
Okay, and you can get this at Van Winden's Nursery here in Napa. You guys, hopefully you don't sell out. And then what's this cute one?
This is a children's book written by the author of that book.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So this is called Mycorrhizal, Earth's Best Friend. That's really cute.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
And it's kind of a story about how it's all connected. Like,
Yeah.
Mycorrhiza it's the mushroom itself, and it's kind of the substrate that connects everything.
So it's so interesting. It's such a hard thing to wrap my brain around, that the mushroom, what I consider a mushroom, what I think of a mushroom, is just the fruit, is just
the fruiting body.
the fruiting body.
It's the apple.
It's the apple. That is such a fantastic way to describe it. That's really, really interesting. And really everything is going on underneath, right? Underground where we can't see it, which I just think is incredible. It's so interesting.
It's kind of magic.
It really is, yeah. So if I see, let's go back to talking about mushrooms in our garden. Is it ever a good thing? I know I was talking to Eileen, and she was very proud of the mushrooms that she has growing in her garden. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So mushrooms growing in like lawns, on soil substrates, in your mulch, are often indicators of good soil health.
Oh.
So it means that things are actively breaking down as they should.
Okay.
There's like the chanterelles. There's lots of mushrooms that have an exchange with plants. So they won't exist unless the plants are there as well.
Nice.
So seeing those fruity bodies of those certain mushrooms
It's a
knows
good
it's happy.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So Eileen said you helped her get the mushrooms into her garden.
Yeah, so she grows garden giants,
Okay.
which is a kind of mushroom, edible and choice mushroom,
Okay.
that you can inoculate into the mulch of your vegetable beds, in your landscape.
Interesting.
It's as simple as putting hardwood chips around, a nice couple inches of them,
Yeah.
and then spreading the mycelium, which you can buy in bricks, and just shredding them up, putting them in there, and then keep watching it, and eventually they'll pop up, and they can get to be huge mushrooms.
Oh my goodness. Do you water them? Do you?
Just let them grow.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You want to have a nice wet substrate.
Okay.
So having plants that you're watering is a really good way of having it, but mulch is really good at keeping moisture in.
Yeah.
And the mushrooms will actively degrade that mulch. So as the mushroom consumes it, the mushroom then dies off. The plants can then consume that material. It's more bioavailable to the plants because of the mushrooms.
So would you call mushrooms a beneficial?
I would.
In a way, right?
Absolutely I would, but there's also the mushrooms that grow on your plants.
Yes, so yeah.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds, which is why it's so intricate and it's so, I don't want to say complicated, but it's a bit complicated.
It is.
So David, you have some interesting packages here of things that I cannot pronounce, but you can pronounce it. Tell us what these are.
This is mycos. It's a product that contains Rhizophagus intradices.
Okay.
Which is a beneficial fungi.
Okay.
That you inoculate onto your plants when you plant them.
Interesting.
And it creates kind of a spongy mat around the roots. It's the mycelium itself.
Okay.
And it's beneficial to the plants and the fungus. So they have a symbiotic relationship.
Okay.
And it makes your plants more hardy, you water less often, the risk of transplant shock gets decreased.
Interesting. So when your plant, like say you have a shrub, you take this and you pour it.
Yep. Sprinkle it on the roots themselves. It has to have direct contact with the roots.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use that all
I do.
Wow.
On a lot of my vegetables.
You mycophile.
But there are vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, brassicas that have evolved to not have a benefit of fungus.
Really?
So applying this on there can be detrimental sometimes.
Okay. Why? Do you know why?
I believe it's because where they originate, the presence of like myceliums like this, it doesn't exist. They kind of come from boggier areas.
Got it.
That's my understanding.
Okay, got it. So there's just no reason to get a benefit from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're too good at taking up the moisture. It's
good for them.
too much of a good thing.
So what is this thing right here?
This is the same. So this is more of a granular.
Okay.
And this is a wettable powder. So this is what I use if I forgot to do it.
Okay.
Then I can put it in a nice watering can, water it in.
Wow.
This one is better in my opinion, but you have to put it on at time of planting.
Okay, so kind of like a slow release fertilizer.
Yeah, kind of, but including moisture and...
It's just so interesting. This is that's what I love about gardening, is there's always something that you just don't know. You know what I mean? I'm talking to you, it's like, wow, I really don't know any of this. How neat. Yeah. All right, so this also you can get at Van Windens. And then what are these other two things you have
So this
here?
is another one of the mycos. This has fertilizer in it as well.
Okay.
And this one is a packet that you place down in there. So really simple, just throw it in the hole. When
you don't even open it?
Don't even open it, just throw it in.
Interesting. And I see on the picture on the package, it has it with a tomato plant. So, man, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Very neat. So this looks pretty familiar. EB Stone, so this is like a fertilizer.
Yeah, this is our organic fertilizer for tomatoes and vegetables.
Okay.
And it contains fungus.
Ah, interesting. So kind of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these ones typically don't produce your classic fruiting bodies. So when you use it in your garden beds, you're not gonna see mushroom or toadstools popping up.
Yeah. So is this the same benefit that you would get from the mycos?
Very similar. This one, from my understanding, it's more effective at preventing other funguses from taking hold.
Oh, interesting. Is that only in organic fertilizers?
Typically. In conventional fertilizers, the nitrogens are too high, and it'll burn the mushrooms out.
Got it. That would make sense. Yeah.
And that's why you'll see fairly low numbers.
Okay.
And with organic fertilizers, oftentimes it's not just feeding the plant itself, it's feeding the microbiology in the soil, which then the plants benefit from.
Yes, absolutely, 100%, which is better in the long run, right? So, but there is a place for everything, right? But,
absolutely.
But this I can see would be helpful to a fungus that's actually living in the soil. Interesting, makes sense. All right, so it's a good thing to have. Usually a good thing to have fungus in your soil.
Yeah, in the soil.
Right.
Not
a good thing on the plant. So I think that's the biggest key that I'm getting from you today, which the main question I had is, what are these mushrooms here? Should I be worried about it? All that kind of stuff.
No.
Have you ever used the mushroom identifier apps?
I have.
What do you think about those?
I think they're an excellent resource. I think they can give you false confidence. So like a springtime amanita and a death cap can look very, very similar.
Okay.
And there's a chance of an app like that misidentifying.
Telling you, yeah.
And the springtime amanita is a delicious, choice, edible mushroom. Death cap is a death cap.
Ew, I'd just be so scared.
And that's one mushroom that I've never eaten that from foraging. I've eaten it that other people have foraged, but I have never had someone with me that has picked it before. So even though I know with 99% confidence what it is,
it's that 1%.
It's not worth the risk.
It's not worth the risk. So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this is so neat, David. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Again, this is a whole different realm for me, but it's pretty interesting. And if you, like I said, I have heard, about foraging and mushrooms and stuff like that from seeing people online and seeing people get really, really into it. So say you all are watching this, somebody's watching this and wants to get into it, go foraging. How would you recommend they find someone like you?
I would reach out to garden centers. I would reach out to mycological societies.
Okay.
The Sonoma Mycological Society is an excellent place to go and find people who are passionate about fungus.
Of course there's a mycological society. I don't know why I didn't think that.
There also is an annual truffle festival in Napa that hosts forays. So you can go out with educators who will go and tell you exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I saw a lobster mushroom, which is a mushroom that is, the one that we saw was a short stem rusula that was inoculated by another mushroom. So first it makes a mushroom that is not that tasty.
Yeah.
And then another fungus inoculates that, turns it this bright orange, breaks down the mushroom a little bit, and makes it into this delicious edible mushroom.
What? I mean, it's just crazy. It's like veggie gardening on the steroids, like just in a whole different, really interesting way.
Absolutely.
Wow.
There's mushrooms that glow in the dark.
Oh my goodness. This is just crazy. This is, like I said, this is just totally out of my realm, but it's so interesting and I'm excited to look more into it.
Yeah.
I will definitely look up these books. I will link them in the description down below. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I have to say, all of the staff here at Van Windens, you all are a little bit different, but you all have so much knowledge on such interesting things. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you again to Van Windens and David. Leave questions in the comments. If you have any questions, I'll bug David to answer them for you because I definitely can't answer them. I hope you all enjoyed this and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.